All right. Hey guys, how are we doing this morning? Let me check my signal here to make sure we're live. I'm going to do some Eberron artwork this morning, as usual. Eberron Adventure, Crystals in a Bar. You can see here on screen. It's my primary project right now. So I work on it Monday through Friday in the morning doing artwork. I'm doing page layouts at night, artwork, checking in. I'm doing page layouts. Sounds like my signal's coming through loud and clear. That's fantastic. Let me adjust that accordingly here. And I'm going to grab the link here so I can do a quick post on social medias. And so give me a hot second here. We'll get to work. So, hey, if you're familiar with my channel already, be welcome to skip ahead a minute if you're catching this in the future. And I'll catch up with the rest of y'all after the bounce. But for those that are new to the channel, hey, what's up? My name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, and I publish them online. And we're, like I said, we're creating an adventure here for the Eberron campaign setting using Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition 2024 rules. We need to see the monster manual come out in February for us to see how we're going to need to modify the monsters. But we're going through page layouts right now. I anticipate having all of the layouts except for the new monsters that we created. I expect all of those, the document otherwise to be completed by February, and us working through we're just working through the page art of the stuff that we already have completed so we know where we're heading. So I think I've word saladed this enough. So let me just conclude by asking if you're interested in this stuff, like, subscribe, hit the, hey, new subscribers, thanks a lot, guys. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications of when we're live in the future. All 386 episodes are here in this playlist here, but we made all of the maps, all of the creature tokens, and now we're building all the illustrations that go into this book. And when it's done, we'll publish it on the DMsGuild. We've got a bunch of books we've already published on the DMsGuild that are all free previews. Check them out. If you think any of them are cool, consider making a purchase to encourage similar behavior in the future. So here's the book cover we created back around episode 40. You can check that out. And we're continuing to work on the Stuck in the Tree artwork. This is a one of the adventures that when the characters leave the village and enter the Carnwood to go find the Manifest Zone, they find NPCs stuck in a tree. There's monsters at the base of the tree that want to eat them. There were 3 of them. They've been up here for more than a day. One of them fell asleep, and the branch broke. So that guy fell, and he's dead. So these are the 2 NPCs that remain alive, witnessing the loss of their ally. Your characters become aware of this encounter when they hear the scream, and then monsters and then they show up. They're like, oh no. So that's kind of how that shakes out. So right now what I'm doing is we've got a shoulder here. We're going to drop the elbow down to about here, where it should be in alignment with the rib cage, and then we do the rest of the arm. Pretty much this is the angle that I was attempting to achieve earlier, but I wasn't happy with the angle of the leg that we have here, and we've rebuilt that. So I'm pretty happy with, I'll do a little bit of texture in the hair, but I'm pretty happy with how this guy is sitting currently. So we're gonna thicken that arm up a bit here. So I stream around 10 times per week, Monday through Friday in the morning like this. We also have a design stream that we run Thursday evenings. And then I also do various development projects and design streams during lunchtime. During the week. This week's going to be a little weird. I've got I should be online today, but probably not till like I want to say maybe 3 o'clock. I'll be around for an hour or so. Maybe it might be a little bit later than that. I don't know what my schedule feels a little weird today, so I'm not sure exactly how it's going to pan out. But I intend to be on this afternoon to continue working on the Bastion project. We've been converting the new 2024 Bastion rules to be an ability check system that you're basically the players are acting on behalf of the guild, making ability checks to like create things, research information, or otherwise interact with the world around us. Let's use this lighter color here. And when your Bastion fails an ability check, it prompts a complication that the players can choose to either resolve themselves personally through their characters, or they can decide that the complication isn't worth derailing whatever the player's current endeavors are, so they relegate the task to the Bastion itself to attempt to resolve. And as the Bastion continues to attempt to achieve the goals, it either runs into additional complications or it resolves it as requested. And if it resolves, then whatever task they're attempting to perform continues on. If it fails, if they fail the die roll, it creates a complication. If the Bastion fails the complication escalates into a larger problem that if the characters continue to ignore, it will eventually snowball into a large enough problem that the characters must deal with it. So we're currently going through the process of establishing what those game procedures are and how to gamify, like quote unquote, properly gamify the ability checks, as well as like how many orders can be issued at a time, and what determines the ability score, the modifiers to the ability check. So we're working on establishing resources and facilities that will help lean into the narrative of how effective your Bastion is at performing different types of orders, depending on how you're choosing to use your resources to implement. That's not the right word. I'll just use how to use your Bastion resources. So you can sculpt your Bastion to specialize in different type of activities or different orders that you issue, and so there's various facilities that you can have at your Bastion that allow that add bonuses to your ability checks when you make them. So that's the idea. So let's see. Let's make sure these arms are balancing. So that's one of the design systems that we're working through right now. We had Martial Powers play test last night. We onboarded a new player and had a little bit of an opportunity to do some encounters. And we've been seeing a glut of monks being used currently because we had been using the mana generation efforts that we have. Hey Steve, how you doing? It is top of the morning. You know what? This is the time that I should start. I should start at 6:30 or even 6 o'clock. But often I stay up too late trying to get the page layouts done for this book, and I end up sleeping later than I want. But ideally, I'm on at 6:30 till 8 o'clock, an hour and a half every morning. It's just I've not been managing my time properly. So I'm trying to get back into balancing my life in that sense. So we'll see how successful I am. But yeah, martial powers last night. We've had one of the things that the martial powers does is it allows you to exchange action economy to generate free mana to trigger effects, channel effects. And one of the things that we have been experimenting with was convert a bunch of monk class features into these different types of maneuvers that can use the mana generation options. But it's now we're seeing monks basically, like, if they don't have to move, they're using their movement to generate free mana, which they can then use to use Flurry of Blows. So effectively what that does is it allows you to exchange your movement and instead get 2 attacks. And that's unbalanced. It's becoming like the default obvious option to choose, which means it's too good. So we're gonna rein that in and restore these monk features to just spend their own mana instead of being free. So that's gonna nerf down significantly. Obviously, you'll only be able to do 1 Flurry of Blows per short rest equal to your mana, but there's so many other things that you can do that generate mana. Like, there's so many things you can do with like as maneuvers, strikes, exploits, and stuff that can use this generated mana by exchanging your action economy. I think it's just going to pull away a little bit from Flurry of Blows and encourage the players to be a little bit more creative with how they use their mana. So when something becomes the default thing that you do, you have to evaluate is that thing that they're doing, should it be the default thing that they can always be doing, right? I mean, that's kind of a circular statement, but that's the problem that we're facing. Circularism. And this is why we playtest, so that we can explore new mechanics and ideas, see how they play, and then rein them in. Like, that would be such an obviously broken feature if it actually went to market that way. It would be embarrassing for us, for the community to rebuke that decision. So ultimately, that is a bad decision. Right? That's why we playtest. So yeah, anticipating some Bastion work today. Probably, I think it's probably going to be like around 3 o'clock. No, it might be 3:30. I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly when I'm going to be. It could be earlier. I don't know what my day's looking like quite, but I want to work on Bastions some today. I just don't know when, how I'm going to squeeze that in. There we go. There, that seems fine. Beep. I'm just about done working on this guy. He might not be finished, but I'm feeling the flow move to the other side with his companion there. So I think I want to switch gears and kick over to her, and I could end up futzing around with this for a while. Let's just fix this real quick. Orinoco flow. I've got Enya in my head this morning. I was listening to just random 90s music stream on YouTube last night while I was working, and there's some Enya that came on, and Enya, once Enya gets in your head, it kind of just sticks around for a little while. Mine anyway. Maybe your mileage may vary. There. Hey, what's up? Wait, who are you? Foxtrot Element. Nice. I don't know if you've been around before or not, man. Welcome to the mix. Proud to have you. Yeah, so we're doing some artwork here. So the adventure we're building, it's using the 16:9 aspect ratio. So when you put it on your phone or your tablet, it fits horizontally inside that space. And we're using a 3-column format because when you look at an individual column, this column is also in the 16:9 format. So you can hold your phone or your tablet horizontally. You can see the full page at the same time, or you can tilt it up vertically and see one column at a time. And pretty much everything in the entire adventure is broken down by like the thoughts or the ideas of each column is like its own self-contained idea. And if a concept requires more than one column, then we break down the concept so that it can be digested on a paragraph by paragraph basis. And so the entire adventure works our way through that. And so I'm doing the layouts. It's 16:9 aspect ratio like this. I've never done an adventure this way. This is a new format for me. So it's an absolute bear for me to be able to do the page layouts. But we're over halfway done with the page layouts at this point, which I do offline because they're boring as fuck to watch. And then wherever we have holes in the document, that's where we put illustrations. So this is the one that we're working on right now. This is referring to, there's an encounter, like I was saying at the top of the episode, there's an encounter where the characters run across NPCs that are stuck in a tree because there's undead running around. There were 3 of them, but one of their branches snapped, and now there are only 2. And who these NPCs are can change depending on what your plot hook was that got you into the adventure in the first place. So it could be random villagers, it could be soldiers, it could be spies, it could be rangers, it could be priests of the silver flame. It'll change depending. There's like 6 different plot hooks that you could use to get in here, and we modify the adventure to address each of those preset plot hooks. So the adventure changes a little bit, like where you go, what resources you have, what rewards you get, what information you have when you go into the adventure. All of that changes based on which plot hook you chose. And you can, and we have this here is the back of the book where it's talking about like combining goals together. Here's your different plot hooks. The default is that your characters are deputized by Fort Bastion and Karnath to investigate complaints of people going missing, and then you fall into this whole necromancer thing going on with ritual sacrifices and shit. But like you could also be, you could instead be recruited by Ader Academy to research this location and bring back evidence about blah, blah, blah. You could combine the deputies with Ader Academy. Ader Academy tells you, hey, there's been stuff stolen from our archives, and we need people to investigate it. And we know it went off in this area. And then so your characters are deputized to work for Aether Academy to reclaim the stolen goods and bring evidence back to Aether Academy about who did it so they can prosecute. Along the way, you find out that there's villagers that are being sacrificed as a result of this stuff, so you can then combine being a deputy with Aether Academy and get rewards from both plot hooks. Fun. It's pretty fun. Karrnath. It's in Karrnath. It's in the southern reaches of the Carnwood, along the edge towards Talenta Plains. The narrative here is that since the last war has been going on forever, the halflings of the Talenta Plains have been slowly pushing their way further and further northward into Karrnath borders. Just doing what plainsmen do. Following the herds. So, but now that the war is ended, Karrnath is starting to get strict about their borders. So it kind of creates this like Great Plains sort of dynamic, like America Great Plains dynamic, where the actual Sindrith is, I think his name is Sindrith. I forget his last name offhand, but the ranger that oversees law enforcement along the Talenta Plains, he's overclocked. He's got too much halfling stuff to go on to deal with these refugee. There's a bunch of refugee villages that have cropped up since the end of the last war. That's basically a mix of displaced Karrnathi citizens and Sire refugees from the Morning. If you're stuck on the northern side after the Morning, you're basically in Karrnath now and you have nowhere else to go. Karrnath desperately needs food. Since their population is no longer at war and they're switching, basically they're converting swords to plowshares, and anyone that wants to start farming, Karrnath's general stance is, don't ask, don't tell. We don't care if you're actually a citizen or not. If you want to start farming and you bring those goods to the larger market, you're helping the population grow. You'll eventually be, naturalized as Karrnathi citizens. So these displaced and refugee farming communities that have been around for a year or so, a couple of years at this point, depending on how long ago you wanted the last war to end in your campaign, they're now establishing themselves. And they're being productive and growing. And now these communities are like, hey, people are going missing and we're concerned. And from the sheriff's perspective, or from the ranger's perspective, it's not a big dramatic thing to see undocumented refugees and displaced workers to uproot and go someplace else. So it's not a big issue compared to halfling raiders attacking farms. So we need to deputize somebody to take care of this. And that's where that's the default plot hook for the adventure. Your characters go in and investigate what's going wrong with these people. And in the process, discover that there's these necromancers in a fortress that was buried in the Carnwood that became exposed. And they're using it to create an artificial manifest zone to the plane of Mabar, which is generating a bunch of undead monsters and stuff, and it becomes a whole big thing. If your characters are successful at the end of all of this, it becomes acknowledged these communities need someone protecting them. So if your characters choose to become protectorates for these different villages, they can then get involved in the Talenta Plain conflicts. They can start exploring the Carnwood and like cleaning up undead and like the Eidolon and stuff like that are inside of the Carnwood that could potentially harass these villages as they continue pushing into the Carnwood for lumber. So it's kind of we created this adventure. I have 386 episodes. We've been picking at this thing for basically 3 years when we first conceptualized it. Right before COVID struck, I was basically running a weekly get together with Andy Healy, the old goat. He's my co-writer, and Stuart Braz is my editor. So we would meet to discuss the plot and like how this adventure would go. there's this poison cloud effect inside the manifest zone that you have to wear a mask to keep yourself from being poisoned. And then COVID happens. It's like, oh, masks are a thing now. That's funny. And so we just continue to make the adventure because it's like, yeah, everyone kind of understands and hates masks now. That's really funny because like if you're running around inside the manifest zone, every hour you're there, you have to make a Constitution saving throw or get a degree of exhaustion stacked onto your character, unless you have this melange that you can make from the unusual plants that are growing inside the manifest zone. It can be alchemically treated to basically create this effect that if you breathe through it, it nullifies the exhaustion effect. So all of the soldiers that are running around inside the manifest zone looking for undead and keeping villagers out have to wear this like these plague masks that you see like from the Dark Ages, so that they don't end up clocking themselves out during the process or being exhausted when undead attack. And then as we continue forward, now we're seeing in culture there's this big conversation about, you know, large scale immigration to high in, you know, the first world countries in Europe and stuff. And so it's like, oh, we have this whole refugee, the whole theme is that refugee villages need help from the government and they're unwilling to do so. So they hire independent contractor adventurers to help serve their needs. And depending on the disposition of the team, the characters will respond to them. The assumption is that we're here to help. We're not asking who you are. It's just there's trouble and we need to help you. And that establishes your characters as an authority in these communities. Like these people, these characters actually care about us. Will you continue to help us? And then you can become basically permanently deputized to have the authority to investigate and have combat where deemed necessary. So it's kind of a funny, interesting parallel that keeps cropping up as this adventure continues to see real world parallels to what's going on here. And so I'm really happy that I've been documenting the entire history of us producing this adventure and all these ideas that have existed inside of it for the past few years, for people to be able to, you know, look at how are we, it's just, I just think it's kind of funny that's paralleled that way. Anyway, I'm ranting. What's up? What's a major bread? What country? Those damn and the fields of the dead was a major breadbasket in that area. Which exactly. Yeah. It's super fucking fun. Stuart Bras. If you don't know who Stuart Bras is, he is like a librarian for Eberron. He really knows his shit. So we specifically hired him not only because he's really good at proofing and editing and also structure. Like he really helped us clean up the structure of this adventure to make it like logically flow from beginning to end, and help pepper in a lot of like the little details that if you are an Eberron enthusiast, hopefully this is going to really resonate with you and help you rethink about like how is Carnathy dealing with post-war. And it's not intended to be social commentary, but it's amazing how often fantasy and sci-fi stories can have are analogous to what is happening in the real world. And I am tickled pink about how this has been progressing because of that. So this arm feels like it's too small. It's pissing me off. So I need to cut that out. Foreshortening at this angle is a real trick. I don't feel like I've quite nailed the landing yet, so I'm going to up the hand a bit. Merge those down. I personally want to pull away from working on this character, but my muse won't let me go yet. She wants to get him to a point where it doesn't piss me off when I look at it, so I can devote my energy elsewhere. I have a Greek muse that lives in my heart, and she is compelled to paint. The funny thing about If you were to follow the magician's theory of muses, and I find it accurate, that they are blessed with the ability to inspire mortals with the urge to create, but they themselves don't. They can't gain any emotional relief or satisfaction from the work unless they can feel it through the people that they're inspiring. So when an artist lets a muse into his heart, you're basically allowing that source of inspiration to feel what it feels like to have the satisfaction or joy or whatever emotion is that you have in art. That's the only way that they can feel anything. Which kind of tracks with what a lot of mystics say about our greater self, that we inject ourselves into this simulation because our higher selves don't have any real sense of loss or threat. They have instant gratification in this heaven plane that they exist inside of to have whatever they want whenever they want. And the thing that they lose, which if you haven't seen The Good Place, that is an amazing show, but it really, really like dives into this idea of when you have eternal heaven, you lose a sense of perspective and wonder about being like joy of having existed at all, because life is so easy in heaven that you kind of lose your sense of like your sense of earning, of gaining, of risking, of earning, of feeling rewarded. And you can believe this stuff if you want to or not. I don't care. But the idea is that mortality is necessary to have a sense of gratitude. So I'm going to let this guy sit. He's good enough. I mean, here's your song. This is a 12-point font that we're looking at. For most people, that's going to be really fucking easy. And so these like little minute details really aren't important. I'm just micromanaging my stuff. And I don't think I need to. So I'm going to kick over to this gal and start working on her instead. So let's just do some cleanup here on the line art. And what time is it? 7:30? 7:48. Yeah, I've got 7:30. I have to stop at 8 o'clock so I can go to my day job. And so I've got another 20 minutes left this morning. We'll be back tomorrow and continue working on this. And I'll take. I'm blessed to be able to work from home, so I get to log out and then log into my day job and do marketing analysis for an advertising agency here in Seattle. And then I get to log out and then jump back on stream for my lunch. So we're going to work on Bastions today, and I'm either going to be, I don't know which one. I'm either going to be here like at 12:30 Seattle time or 3 o'clock. I don't know exactly what my day is going to shake out like. There's stuff going on that I need to attend to, and I don't know how efficiently I'll resolve it or what the exact sequencing is going to be among the group that I'm working with. So we'll see how that goes. But when we come back, we'll be working on resource management for the Bastion system that we're rebuilding for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. I'm a huge Bastion / domain style of play from the old 1st edition, where characters would gain fortresses and build armies and start adventuring at a global level instead of just in the dungeons. And I absolutely love that style of play, and I integrate it into almost every campaign that I run one way or another. So when Wizards decided to dip their feet back into the Bastion style of play, they didn't actually build Bastion campaigns, but they did create a means for characters to like build magic items and shit, which is like such a thin, it's such a small aspect of what Bastion systems can be. But Wizards has been divorcing themselves from that process since 3rd edition, slowly removing leadership and castles and stuff like that from player engagement to focus on the dungeon punk aspect of D&D, because Wizards is a deck building company. They created Magic the Gathering. They specialize in deck building, so they converted D&D basically into a deck building game where each level of character is effectively another card that you're adding to your deck to be able to build these action loops inside dungeon spaces to fight monsters. And in 3rd edition, that was super fucking cool. What an innovative idea. We love this. But as it continued to evolve and expand through 4th and 5th edition, they pulled further and further away from that style of play of having ownership of the world around you in favor of just, fighting monsters and going on adventure rides to lead your characters through. And you don't really have any impact in the world unless the story says you do, so you don't really. And then whatever the resolution is that they choose for that adventure is kind of how the adventure ends, and then you choose another adventure. There's no real in-depth discussion about, like, how are we impacting the world? How is this going to change the campaign, and what's next? And that's a huge style of play that's kind of eroding, that the OSR scene still embraces heavily. But unless you get into the OSR, like, you basically have to leave 5e to explore that style of game. But 5e is by far the best fucking game engine that I've had the opportunity to play in over the past 30, 40 years. I love 5e. It is such a great game engine, but it's narratively bankrupt. So it's, and I don't blame WotC for that. There's a style of game that they're trying to develop, but the more they lean into this dungeon punk character identity idea, the less they have the opportunity to, like, impact the world and make campaigns their own. So I'm trying to bring that back because, again, I love that style of play, and I've found a way in every 5e campaign that I've ran to introduce that domain style back into the equation. But it's all homebrew. There's no formal rules for it. So I'm attempting with the Bastion system to reintroduce the idea of domain and converting it into basically ability checks for you to determine what your Bastion can do. And like I was talking about before and in previous episodes, that when your Bastion fails an ability check, that's a call to adventure for your characters to fix the problem so that the Bastion can actually achieve its goals. And so you can have a progressive story that's generated by the things that you try to do with your Bastion, and then when they fail, it creates these opportunities for your characters to go in and fix the problem to progress with whatever it is that you're trying to do, blah, blah, blah. So what's up? Oh, cool. Well, it's you can check out my stream here. If you go to Phil Kearney and you look at my live feed, Game Design Bastion Campaigns, episode 13. I'll do anywhere from like 1 to 4 hour blocks of time basically building this out. But if you just grab any of this, it's a word salad right now, but the entire thing is available for you to look at on Google Docs. Here's the playtest document. Google, for you, it's a read-only document. I'll be editing it later on today. But it breaks down the 7 orders that are in the DMG 24. It goes through crafting and empowering magic items or creating gear. It breaks down like the material, like the type of materials you need to create every item and what kind of facility that you need. And we've just started to define the different facilities. Like the more facilities you have that are dedicated to an order, the more modifiers you can add to the ability check to make that task successful. So like there's 5 ranks from 1 to 5 corresponding when your character gains proficiency bonuses. And here's the Bastion die, which is like an inspiration die that you would roll. So like if I want to research the name of Baphomet, like his true name, that would be like a difficulty. That'd be like a difficulty of 30. So your Bastion rolls a d20 plus your rank, like 5th rank plus 5, and then you would add, if you have 5 resources dedicated to research inside your facilities, like a library, an archive, an arcane study, a spy network, and whatever else it is that we have as facilities. If you've invested 5 resources into research, you can get a D12. If you only have like if you only have a library, then you only get to add a D4. If you have a library and arcane study, that's 2, so you get a D6. And so as you accumulate more resources, you can invest more of them into a specific order to roll a higher roll. So at 5th rank, you'd have a D20 plus 5 plus D12, which is a range of 7 to 37 to hit a DC 30 to learn the true name of Asmodeus or whatever. If you fail that die roll, you can kind of guess what your complication might be. Asmodeus becomes aware that you're trying to learn his true name, and now you're on his shit list. So your characters are going to have to do something to get off of Asmodeus's bad list. You already tried to take a shot at the devil and you missed. Now you're going to have problems. And that can scale from anywhere from level 1 to level 20 type threats. I've been using Bastions in my campaigns for years, but I never had a formalized rule set. We were actually in the process of creating those rule systems. We called it In Command, and we have a whole playlist for that stuff. But it basically took these ideas, and it was overly complicated. So when the Bastion system came out, it's like, oh, this is simplifying everything. So we can work with this. So we're now dumbing down the Bastion system that we had originally created, so that it works well with what Wizards has presented. So like, hey, you guys like Bastions? If you want to use that Bastion system, here's a bunch of ability checks that you can use to help sculpt how your game runs. Like if you try to learn Asmodeus's true name and you fuck up, your adventure is now going to be about getting Asmodeus off your ass. And if that's if you didn't want that to be a problem, maybe you shouldn't have tried to research what his true name was in the first place. Like it really forces characters to take accountability in what they're doing with their characters and how they're using their Bastion, and allows the world to naturally react to what they're attempting to do to generate these living campaigns where your character's decisions heavily impact what happens, like a homebrew campaign would be. But then we have the opportunity of like taking adventures like Storm King's Thunder and stuff like that. Let's make his flying castle your fortress as a bastion. And now we can use that fortress to create items and prepare for whatever the next encounter it is that we're going to have, and just lean into that style of play. So like the Storm King becomes effectively like a hireling inside of your Bastion as you're running around fighting dragons and shit. So that's the idea. So I'm not sure when I'm going to be on today. My schedule is weird. I'll either be here like at 12:30 Seattle time, which is like 5 hours. I'll either be here in 5 hours or like in 7, something like that. I'm not sure exactly, but I stream everything. You can always catch the replay. But yeah, we'll be delving into facilities and investing resources to increase your die. And so we want to have a facility. Facilities, like, they give you perks. Like if you have like an arcane study, for instance, not only can you perform research with it, but you can also like create arcana magic items and like an arcane focus and like other things you can do with it from a tech point of view. But it also can be used for research, and it increases your research, your, I guess, like devotion or your investments in research, so that you can have a higher Bastion die when you make research checks. So self-reinforcing system, it utilizes basically everything that's already in the DMG, but like really leans into it. Like, what's the next step that goes to that? What if we converted this into an ability check system instead of just a narrative system? Because currently the Bastion system's like, I want to make a magic item, and your DM says okay, and then you make a magic item and it's done. There's no risk reward, or like needing to gather formulas, or like we don't have enough griffin feathers to make these feather token things, so now you got to go find either have to trade or find griffin feathers so you can make this magic item. So that becomes a potential complication that your team can now go questing for griffins. And in the process, maybe you find griffin eggs. It's like, oh, maybe we should start breeding griffins. And so you start incorporating griffins into your team. So now you have flying mounts, and maybe your Drake Warden Ranger is focused on griffins instead of dragons now. Whatever it is that you want to do, you can mess around with those elements by integrating these things into your game. It's I always, when I'm doing anatomy, there's always a risk of me spending too much time on a particular piece of anatomy, and I'm always concerned that it makes me look like a weirdo. But the art is the art, man, and it's got to get done. We got to do the line art correctly. So being an artist can be weird. Burps. Kind of getting a Ripley vibe off of this gal. You can convert them easily into castles and crusades. Yeah. I use Bob Ross techniques to create all my landscape stuff. So I spent a good year or so learning how to create Bob Ross paintings in Photoshop. I have my brush, the brush kit that I use is full of little splot effects. If you check some of the previous episodes, you can see me talking about Bob Ross and tapping all this stuff in and like generating leaves and stuff like that. So, but yeah, huge Bob Ross enthusiast here. When a number of years ago, I went to, since I live in Seattle, this is where PiezoCon occurs. So I took a portfolio. I'd spent time basically making character art from the iconic characters from Pathfinder 1. And at the time I was interested in potentially doing work with them. So I brought my portfolio and, was able to get their attention at the con. And the one comment that they said was like, your character art's pretty good. You've got the chops to do work with us, but we need you. But you need to improve your backgrounds. So once you can get your backgrounds to an equal level of quality as your character art, then yeah, we'd be happy to have a conversation with you. And so that got me really motivated to like, what do I need to do to be able to up my game to be able to create good environments? And that's what led me to, I used to watch Bob Ross when I was a 5-year-old, back in the 80s when they were being streamed, like when they were being played live on PBS at 6:30 in the morning. No, it was 7 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays. They'd play new episodes of Bob Ross in. I lived in Kansas City at the time, so that's when they played in Kansas City, and the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon came on at 7:30 on CBS. So I'd wake up at 6:30, eat a bowl of cereal, start playing with Legos, and listen to Bob Ross while I was playing with Legos until the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon would come on, and then I'd stop playing Legos and watch Dungeons and Dragons. And any time the D&D cartoon was syndicated and on TV somewhere, I would focus. Like I would spend my time there, and my parents picked up on this. So when I turned 12, they're like, "Hey, we know that you like the D&D cartoon. There's a bunch of books for D&D. It's a TV show, but it came from a game. So you're 12 and you're probably old enough to understand this stuff. It looks a little complicated, but you can probably figure it out. But here's a bunch of books." And they just bought me some first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, as well as got the basic red box set. And like, here, have fun. And I immediately fell in love with it. And it got me into artwork, and it just completely launched me, and just an absolute love for D&D. And I started, all my friends, like I started making friends based on like, do you play D&D or not? Do you want to hang out this weekend and run a Greyhawk campaign for like 12 hours this weekend or whatever? And that's how I started getting all my friends. And miraculously, all the friends that I made in college and the dorm where I was at, they were all D&D enthusiasts already. So we immediately had a party of players and started neglecting our schoolwork like right out the gate. It was great. But life really, really conspired to have me be here now. Like my entire memory of life is just, it all just equals make artwork, make games, be here, stream right now. So when I talk about life conspiring to me being here, like almost everything that's happened in my life, I can see how it led me to being who I am, where I'm at, and I am absolutely thankful and have gratitude for the opportunity to be who I am. Super fucking great. Hey, what's up? Oh my God, that's horrible. Because one of our broadcasting services bought the rights here. Oh, fuck you. So the VPN has been. That's a shame. That's a real shame. Hey, Domo. I don't see good. I have to close in distance here to see what's going on. Right on. Man, that's a shame. Bob Ross is the bee's knees, man. But yeah, so I just started. So I remembered, Bob Ross is amazing with environments. So I started studying his work and realized that all he's doing is basically Japanese ink blots, like block art, where you'd have like a shape carved, and then you would like leaves, like you'd have a leaf carved into a wood block. So you dip it in ink, and then you touch the paper, and the only thing that would appear on the paper is the blot that you made. And so if you have different shaped blots, you can basically stipple a shape. So when you look at Bob Ross tapping leaves and stuff in different colors, all he's doing is very complicated, dynamically shaped block prints, like Japanese style. And then he blends. So the only two tools you need in Photoshop is the paintbrush and a smudge tool. Everything you can do on Bob Ross paintings, you can do in Photoshop with paintbrush and smudge tools. And I built a shitload of brushes that duplicate the type of stipple patterns. Like I would pause the screen and then polarize it so it became black and white, so I could like literally make like Bob Ross style stipple effects. So that's how I make all my shit. Oh crap, I'm out of time. Oh no, I'm not. I've got 10 minutes left. Huh. That worked out, but I do need to wrap up soon. So, yeah. Anyway, we're sculpting, so I'm gonna be out of here in a few minutes. Like I said, I'll be back doing Bastions at some point today. I just don't know exactly when. It'll either be 12:30 or it'll be 3 o'clock, one or the other. It just depends on how my day shakes out. But, I don't expect anyone to be hanging out on YouTube waiting for me to stream, so I'll just assume that if it's of interest, then you'll catch the replay. Like and subscribe, blah blah blah, so you can. Folks are welcome to join my Discord server, which I have linked down below as well, if you want to talk shop or get involved and start using these things. If you want to play test them in your campaign and give me feedback, I will give you a free copy of the book when it is published, and I'll give you, if you tune in with me and give me updates on what you're encountering or how it's working for you or have suggestions, you'll get playtest credits in the book when I publish it. There you go. So if you're interested, be welcome to drop by the Discord and plug in with me, and we'll get you set up. filling in the shadows here for the backpack. I need to do fabric folds here. There. Yeah, this is feeling pretty good. I'm happy with it. This will end up nice. This is going to be a great piece when it's done. I'm really happy. We're almost done. We just need to finish her up. I'll probably fuck around with this guy a little bit more, and we need to fix the broken branch. And once we do that, this piece will be done, and then we'll move on to the next one. Yeah, most of the book is actually, most of the illustrations in the book are either maps or creature tokens. That does a lot of lifting for the book. But there are instances where, like on pages where we're just talking about stuff and there's no specific assets from the, like when you buy the adventure, you get a zip file full of all the tokens and maps and shit that you can see in the past 300 some odd episodes of us building. And there's toolkits and like tree, there's tree tokens that you can put onto a forest map, so you can make infinite number of forest scenes for your own VTT, or if you want to print them out, you can cut them out and rearrange them as you please. So I'm building these mapping toolkits that I then build the maps from, and then I give you the toolkit and the pre-generated maps to run with the adventure, and the whole book is that way. So like the Spelljammer book that I have linked down below that I made, the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration, like it has system mapping tools, so like you can build your own system maps for your characters to hex crawl around inside of, or like all the ship tokens that we created so you can conduct fleet and squadron combat and all blah blah blah. Anyway, so like if I have to build assets to make my adventure or my supplement work, then let's make those assets part of what you get when you buy the thing. So you can read all my books for free, but if you actually want to use them, then spending the money gives you everything that you would possibly need to be able to do what it is that I'm showing you inside of the book. So anyway, that's my sales pitch. So cheers. I got to bounce. It's almost 8 o'clock here, so I want to grab some more coffee and gear up for work. I'll either be back like in 4.5 hours or like in 7 hours. I honestly don't know which one it's going to be, but I'll be back later on today. We're going to mess around with the facilities and resource management for the Bastion system using the ability checks. So, hey, thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. It certainly makes it a lot more fun for me to art. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow morning. We'll continue working on this, and with God's grace, we'll finish it this week, and we can move on to the next thing. And yeah, so I'll see you guys in the future. Thanks a lot. Laters. Whoops. I did the thing. Oh, I fucked up my screen. What have you done, Kearney? What have you done? I better fix this before I go. Otherwise, I have no idea what the hell. Oh, there we go. That was easy. That was easy. All right, that's it, guys. I'm out of here. Laters. Yeah, thanks a lot.